Hey, we're live. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Blocks and Frocks with me, Gillian Gottsell and Lisa Gibbons. And today our guest is Septima L, we're calling her because she's got a very nice name that I can't pronounce, who is the editorial director of Orderinbox, but also is an artist and a writer and a generalist and a blockchain enthusiast and one other thing too as well that I can't remember. So Septima, no, I've got them all. Artist, writer, generalist, blockchain enthusiast. Septima, welcome to the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jillian and Lisa.
Yeah, you're coming all the way from Vancouver. So
Uh,
what's it like there today?
I think it looks like it's going to be sunny, but it's very early, so I'm not sure yet.
Okay, cool. No, so we've invited you on the show. We connected on LinkedIn, and you just the fact your tagline on LinkedIn alone was interesting. That the artist and writer and generalist and blockchain enthusiast, because we're going, oh, we're similar to that too as well. So tell me first of all about Septima. What type of artist are you?
Well, I've been an artist for decades. I actually went to art school growing up, and in university I studied art history. So it's just sort of been a natural thing for me. In terms of what type of artist. So I've been doing almost anything, multimedia mostly. I did a lot of printmaking, painting. I've been a street artist sort of on and off over the years. I live between Vancouver and New York, so street art's really big in New York. But yeah, my favorite medium is probably printmaking. Ever since I got into the NFT space, I have been taking a lot of my physical art and digitally enhancing it. So I'm uploading it and kind of getting into digital painting overlays, which is a lot of fun. It's a medium I hadn't explored before, NFTs.
Wow. I'm going to go back, if you don't mind, to your street art, because I love the idea of street art. What type of, and then come on to how you are amplifying and changing your physical art. So what type of street art were you doing? Were you actually doing stuff on walls or how did that work?
Yeah, so I have done a little bit on that, mostly in Los Angeles and New York. I was doing it under a pseudonym for a few years with mostly poetry and like word art. Um,
Hmm. How does that work?
I can't remember if I did imagery or not. There's a lot of word artists. Actually, one of the most popular artists in Los Angeles, I think he's based in Los Angeles, is Wordsmith. So it's just, kind of short form sayings and poetry and stuff that you come up with that you either turn it into an image or you put up the lettering.
And
Yeah.
what were the themes of your word art?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Universal themes, universal human themes. So love, experience, a lot on being a woman, which is sort of the central theme of a lot of my work as well, is sort of just the experience of being a woman.
And when you were doing this, you're writing, you're writing, and then you're creating art from it. So, when you say you're a writer, do you write poetry separately to word art?
I lost you there for a second. I'm
Uh,
right. What? Sorry.
are you writing poetry as well as doing word art?
So I'm not much of a poet. I don't think I definitely wouldn't consider myself a poet. I
What
write
type
a
of,
lot of different types of things. So I just wrote a pilot script recently. I've been working on um, a memoir a fictional memoir for my grandfather, who was Ukrainian. He moved here. He immigrated to Canada after the Ukrainian famine. So I've actually been working on a fictional memoir of him as a little boy in Ukraine experiencing the famine from the 1930s. And I've also been working on a project around Marilyn Monroe. So I do a lot of different types of writing, but professionally, I focus a lot on the crypto blockchain NFT space, which is just fascinating.
oh wow! So three things that I got to ask you. Going back to your grandfather leaving Ukraine after the famine, um, was is how are you feeling now with the current war in Ukraine? Is that helping you or hindering you or making you more passionate about that project?
Well, it's a little bit challenging. So I've never met my grandfather. He actually committed suicide a few weeks before I was born.
Mhm.
So that's actually why I'm interested in it. So I imagine a lot of it was a result of the trauma of experiencing what happened in Ukraine. And I can't remember if it was him directly that immigrated here or his father, but either way, there's very clear kind of generational trauma going on in our family around some of the injustices that happened in the early 20th century under Stalin. So, yeah, I'm definitely concerned about the people that are experiencing what they're experiencing there now, because the residual effect is pretty it's pretty profound. My family has a lot of addiction issues, and there's been a lot of suicide on both sides of my family. Both sides of my family came from Ukraine, so and I think that is a result of what happened to them.
Yeah, it's like they talk about generational trauma, don't they? That it's not. It goes on to the next generation when there's hurt and trauma.
Yes, absolutely. So that's why I got so interested in it, and yeah, just seeing what's happening now. That this kind of relationship between Ukraine and Russia is long-standing, and a lot of people are pretty unaware of it, just because it's just not really written about in history books, and that's
we were saying
the lack
before
of
we started.
records. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we were saying before we started that until the war happened in Ukraine, now I didn't realize there was a famine. I always thought Ireland had the famine, or else maybe some African countries obviously would have recurring famines. But and how many million people died in that famine in Ukraine?
So for a long time, the estimate was anywhere between 3 million and 11 million. But they've been able to get more accurate on that. So there's a Harvard Ukrainian Studies Department Ukraine. I can't speak because it's very early in the morning here. There's the Ukrainian Studies Department at Harvard University in the U.S. that has been pretty focused on like studying what happens with this. And I think that through their research, they've narrowed it down to about 4.5 million, which still makes it the second biggest genocide in modern history next to the Holocaust.
Wow.
That's why it's so surprising that it got lost, but also a little unsurprising because all the documents got burned. So,
well, I think it's like there's unexpected consequences. Like Putin did not expect, and don't get political here now, but did not expect Norway and Finland to change their policy on neutrality and join NATO. And then there's the knowledge and information about Ukraine that I mean, I was there once before, about 5 years ago, I think it was. But it's you kind of lump sometimes countries together when you don't know much about them, and there's an amazing admiration across the world for Ukrainian people. And I know that one story I like to tell, and it's very true because we have a lot of refugees coming here to Ireland, women and children and older parents and stuff like that. But the first thing that the woman asks for is a school for a child to go to school, and the second thing is she asks, "Is there work?" And that's a huge testament to the resilience and the independence and just the strength of Ukrainian people, that they arrive with nothing but the backpack and their kids, and already they're thinking about get the kids into school, and can I work? Can I do something? So I think unexpected consequences is that Ukrainian people are very much being admired across the world at a terrible price, of course. But it does, going back to your book then, sorry, that's interesting, isn't it? I think because it'll probably have more relevance, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be relevant. I mean, there's at the cost of a massive war happening and this horrible tragedy. But it just happens to coincide. I did the research over, I think I started it just before the pandemic. I found out about it because I had taken a course in intergenerational trauma, and I was trying to sort of understand the root of where some of the challenges I've had in my own life came from. And I realized, like, coming from a family that didn't really ever talk about our history, I didn't have a lot of context. So it was really interesting sitting in a room that people could reference what happened to their parents or their grandparents or their great grandparents, because they had a background of being, they were Jewish or they were Black, and their family had experienced slavery in the South, or they knew their history. I didn't know my history. So I was like, I had come up with everything that could possibly have happened in my own life to refer back to any of my trauma. And it's not like I've had a terrible life or anything, but we all, if you've done any trauma work, you know, we all have something. But I couldn't find what happened in my own life. So I started to think about, you know, like maybe something happened to my parents or my grandparents. And I discovered that famine and just sort of the dynamic between Russia and Ukraine that's gone on since. And it's a fascinating history, but there's very little written about it. So yeah, I just started doing a deep dive, I think around 2019, 18 or 19, right before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, I read everything that there was possible. And I found some videos on survivor accounts. There's a handful of them out there. And there's a few really great resources, but it's quite minimal compared to major events in history. So like I said, what's happening right now doesn't surprise me, but it is really disheartening because without the context, people don't really understand how devastating it is.
I think there is learning coming, though. That's the one thing I will say. And when I said the relevance, I wasn't making light of the war, but I think people are curious because they're going, are they not brotherly countries? Blah blah blah. All of that I think that was trotted again. And then it's actually, you see things going, well, actually no, there's a bit of a problem here, a bit of a disconnect. No more than you'd say that the Irish and the English were terribly in love with each other. You know, I mean, we are very close. We have a shared history, but hasn't always been. It's a peaceful one at the moment, but it hasn't always been so. Oh, okay, so that's our history. So then, Marilyn Monroe. That's because there's a lot of interest in her. There's a couple of new feature documentaries released about her.
There is. Yeah, that wasn't intentional either. I started.
You're on message. You're on point. What was the impetus there? What attracted you to Marilyn Monroe as a project, and what kind of project is it?
So it's a script, but it's not really like anything that's been done before, so I won't dig too much into it. But the interest in Marilyn is just, we just don't let it go. You know, she's this sort of symbol of hypersexualized femininity, and she kind of represents everything that's sort of desirable or overtly sexual about women. I'm not really sure. I haven't talked about this project in a little while. So it's more so we've almost dehumanized her to the point where we don't give we've almost dehumanized her. And that, I think that has ripple effects in the way that women are treated in the bigger picture.
That makes me think of Diana, you know, Princess Diana.
Yeah, it's
kind of like something like that, you know, where she's just in put on a pedestal, and then all of a sudden she doesn't have any voice, or she's no personality anymore because you've fixed her to something. Is that the same kind of thing with Marilyn? What you're going to say?
Yeah, and I don't know what type of presence Marilyn Monroe has over in Europe, but for North America, Marilyn Monroe is like the creme de la creme of like femininity and sex, and icon. And you know, to this day, young men have pictures of Marilyn Monroe up in their bedrooms, and it's almost like we've taken her and we deitized her in this way that sort of does damage to women. I don't know, because there's like an ideal there that, you know, nobody can ever really achieve. It's not possible, but the reality is she wasn't that either. So I think it's more an issue of just letting that go, because it does a disservice to women as a whole to think that there was that type of perfection. And
do you think we're moving kind of away from that now? I feel not moving away from it, but I mean, you have the Kardashians, right? And they seem like lovely girls. They seem like
Kim wearing the dress.
They're super savvy. They're super commercially savvy and business women or whatever. But I think we're moving away from the idea of one type of look for women. You know,
not in America.
Oh, really?
No, man. If you're an influencer in America, you look like some carbon copy of the Kardashians.
No way.
Yeah.
I have an
Oh,
opinion
for sure.
about
Everyone has lips and boobs and bums and anything you can insert in. We're moving away a little bit, I think, with Gen Z. There's sort of a move towards a little bit more natural again. But no, for the last probably decade, everybody's trying to be a Kardashian over here. But it's funny that you bring up the Kardashians, because wearing that Marilyn dress
I was going to say, how did you feel about that dress?
I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. And, like I said earlier, we just don't let her rest. And that was another kind of blow to how we have put her in this position as this, like, just this goddess. And she wasn't that. She was depressed, she was anxious, she was paranoid, she stuttered, she suffered from schizophrenia, and those aren't none of that is inherently bad, but she was a human being, and we just don't let her be a human being, and we don't let her rest. So to take that dress that was so iconically about her, and at the point that in her life when she wore that, it was so iconically about her being just so hypersexualized by men and the world, and putting that on, and not to mention the damage that she could have done to that dress if her spiked heel caught on it, because it's one of the most delicate fabrics that's ever been created. It's horrifying that she was allowed to wear that, honestly.
I think she only wore
How did I miss this? Can someone explain?
Kim Kardashian, she wore Marilyn Monroe's dress that she wore singing Happy Birthday to the president to the Met Ball.
Did
she only wore, she had to diet to fit into it, because she'd be a larger frame. And then she only wore, I think, for about 5 minutes, but even that, because the material is so old, even putting it on a warm human being, it would crease it and degrade the materials, so it was everyone was shocked that she was allowed to wear it, because that's a piece of history.
Yeah, Marilyn was actually sewn into that dress. That dress was for her. It was never meant to be worn by anybody else. So the original designer of that dress did not want Kim Kardashian 60 or 70 years later wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress. So it was just all around it, just like a really, really offensive thing, I think.
She didn't get much plaudits for sure. Anything I read and watched or heard about it, everyone was being very critical, because why? Why?
Why do influencers in general have so much? I'm hoping, like, the NFT world and what we're seeing in NFTs at the moment is kind of changing the narrative for influencers and what we imagine to be influence. I mean, why do some influencers have more power than others, and they're not even usually they're not even the end creator, so they're not the artist, they're not the designer, the dress designer, they're not the writer. So it's just interesting. I hope Web3, I don't know what you think, Septima. Do you think that NFTs are changing the value of creators?
Yes and no. So I'm a huge proponent of NFTs, and I really like the idea of creating sustainable careers for creators. The one challenge I think that we're having with NFTs is there's a lot of noise. So I'm not really sure what the future of NFTs is going to look like. I don't think any of us really knows. But some of the projects that you see coming out of it, they're just it's hard coming from an artist, and just seeing people having success with the things that are just seem so meaningless, unless there's utility behind it. I have mixed feelings about the art side of NFTs. What NFTs are going to do in a whole bunch of other areas, though, I think it's just going to change the way that we live. Just the utility behind NFTs and what that can do for the music industry and the sports industry and apparel and just sort of how they're going to represent what we look like, or how we get to present ourselves in the metaverse. So we think now, we have guests over and they see our physical homes and our physical spaces. I imagine NFTs kind of being something that's almost sort of like relics or symbols that are just sort of an accumulation of digital things that kind of represent who we are and allow us to be like fully self-expressed in things that we're interested in and things that we love in our metaverse spaces. And I don't know exactly what that looks like because I don't know if any of us do, but I'm collecting just so that I've got it there if we get there when we get there.
And what do you like collecting? Is it one-on-one art? Is it tickets? Is it part of collections? Is there specific ones?
So I've mostly been collecting art, but I haven't really been looking at a lot of the stuff that's popular in the space. So like the Apes and the CryptoPunks and the World of Women and stuff like that. There's a lot of really interesting projects and a really, really interesting utility going around projects like that. But I worked in galleries after college because I did my degree in art history, and the advice that I always gave collectors was buy what you love, because I can't guarantee you that it's going to be worth $10,000 in a year or $100,000 in 10 years or $1 million in 20 years. I can't guarantee you a return on your investment. But if you buy what you love, then you're holding on to something that you love. And that was just kind of like my general rule of thumb about art collecting. So when I got into NFTs, that's what I've been doing. I've just been buying from artists that I love.
Me too. I'm the same, I think.
Yeah. So which blockchain are you collecting on mostly, Septima?
I collect on Matic, Polygon, Ethereum, and Tezos.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to ask, tell us a bit about Orderinbox.
Orderinbox. So we're a social NFT marketplace. I guess the easiest way to describe it is we are like Instagram meets OpenSea. So one of the challenges for a lot of artists on the big NFT marketplace platforms right now is discoverability. So what they're doing is they're minting and they're listing on one platform. So a lot of the big ones, and I don't know what it's like in Europe, but a lot of the big ones over here are OpenSea, Rarible, Foundation. Do you guys have the same ones?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of creators, I don't want to say artists because there's a lot of different types of creators in the NFT space. So a lot of creators are minting and listing on one platform, and then they're having to go over to other platforms like Discord and Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram is less popular, or Telegram, to promote their work. So we've built a platform where they can do all of that in one space. So liking, commenting, sharing, your discoverability gets... do you remember when Facebook and Instagram, you could see what everybody was liking and commenting on rather than just seeing a feed of...
Yeah.
So there was like a following feed. So you could discover what other people in your network were looking at and following. And so we've kind of built that in, and we've trademarked that as SNFX, which is like a social network effect. So yeah, I mean, the goal is to really support creators and give them a space where they can get discovered, where they don't get drowned out by these massive projects. And we're focusing a lot on one-to-one creators, collections, and our VP of sports and entertainment is actually, he's a veteran from the music space. He used to work at Universal Music. He was a VP there for 10 years. And he's really looking at helping us onboard brands and people in the entertainment industry. And so, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of like collectibles, collections, and big brands. I don't know. Instagram meets OpenSea.
It's a great
Sounds
tagline.
amazing.
Yeah.
How do you onboard your artists? Do people have to apply, or do they just sign up? Is there a process?
So we just finished the whitelisting segments of the platform. So we whitelisted users for about a month, and then we launched to the public last week, actually. So it's actually such an easy platform to use that even if you know nothing about NFTs, it's really simple to just go on and sign up, as long as you have a wallet. And that's a caveat for a lot of people, because people that don't know anything about the Web3 space, the idea of signing in a wallet is like really challenging. I know it was for me when I first entered. So but yeah, you can go on there and sign up.
Which wallets do you have to have? Is there a range of wallets, or MetaMask, or?
I mean, you can have anything. We recommend MetaMask because it's really easy to use for a new user. But yeah.
That sounds cool. Because I think I should be going after this call, or maybe the weekend, and going to have a look. And because, as I say, Lisa and I we actually both did recently a GAN project where it was using AI to train the platform to synthesize, if you like, different images. And I did one on my old house that the banks took. And Georgina, Lisa, I'm calling you every name this morning. And Lisa did one on her foraging, because Lisa's a forager. Actually, talk about your project, Lisa. It's fantastic.
No, it's not. Gillian is really kind. I've sold like maybe one, and Gillian sold about 200 of hers by now. But yeah, I think it's just really interesting that you get to express yourself in a different way, and maybe take what you think is an expression of yourself. Like I had a lot of pictures of me out foraging and dandelions and nettles and weeds and whatever I found, elderflowers, etc. And I just inputted them into this machine learning program, and then they just spurted out what the machine thought, I wanted to portray through my foraging. And it's just really fascinating to see how that turns out, and how a machine interprets your work and the things that you value. So it's like another way of looking at the stuff that you love in your life and changing it and merging it with other stuff. And yeah, I think it's just, I like the NFT world and the world of NFTs in general, because I think it's just encourages you to be creative and expressive, and let your creative side a bit loose. And when I remember myself and Gillian went to a big NFT conference in Lisbon, and it was brilliant. But I remember asking the audience, there was about 300 people in the audience who had collected an NFT, and everyone had put up their hand. And then I asked who had created an NFT, and everyone put up their hand as well. So there was collectors and creators in the same number, same volume in the room. And it just said something massive to me. Like, we have the potential not to have that hierarchical approach to creativity anymore, and no one is so far removed where everyone is allowed to be an artist, and that's, I think me and Gillian are very pro that approach to life in general. Why not try, let your creative self shine and see what comes out? And this is what we're getting. It's just fascinating, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, coming from a background where I worked in that like weird exclusive art world, I love that creativity is being democratized, and it is becoming a sustainable career choice for people. Yeah, it is it's an incredibly fascinating space. And the funny thing is, before I got into NFTs, I wasn't really interested in NFTs. Actually, it was coming from this sort of circle of artists that didn't want anything to do with NFTs. Like, they were physical artists, so whether it was street artists or painters or but they were creating physical art, and they still were engaged with what was going on in the traditional art world, and they thought NFTs were a scam. And I think that still a lot of people think NFTs are a scam, but the technology is incredible, and it has it really, really has the ability to dramatically impact so many industries. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen with the future of art, but when you bring up that AI thing, I'm fascinated by that as well. And even as somebody who's like, I painstakingly, draw something with a sketchy marker for 40 hours. And then I look at somebody who fed something into an AI generated thing, and compositionally it's amazing, and it's beautiful. And I'm still buying that art, because I'm not thinking, like, it's not about the time that you put into it. It's just about the ideas, because really that's what art is. And when it comes down to it, is like the best artists have great ideas and they execute on them, and really great artists execute on them well. And that has to do with color, composition, balance. And some people have that eye or they don't. But the AI art is just, it's just fascinating because it understands what works compositionally. So you really just need to contribute the ideas and the elements and it figures it out. So I've actually been collecting some of the AI art because I don't know what the future of that looks like, but it's amazing stuff.
We
I
must
love it
share
as well.
our projects with you afterwards. I see there's a question there from a friend of mine, Robin. He's saying he's going to check out Orderinbox right away. Please do, Robin. He also said, can you tell us more about the community building features?
Yes. Okay. So I started on Discord just like any other NFT project, but so the community building features look a lot. They're engagement features. They're engagement features that give creators visibility that they're not getting on other NFT platforms. So we've removed any sort of algorithmic biases. So if you're a creator and you're brand new to the space, your work isn't going to get drowned out by a creator that maybe has 1 million followers, because it's going to get posted and it's going to get and it's going to show up on either the feed of people who follow you or people who engage with you. So if somebody likes your work, it's going to show up on their network's feed. So it's just sort of like the network effect of giving everybody a chance at visibility. So one of the things that's been really challenging for a lot of the big social network platforms now is they've drowned out a lot of creators through algorithms. And that's been, I think it's led to lower quality content in some cases, because people feel like they need to constantly be churning out content. So, that comes at the price of, quick and dirty, right? So they're putting out content just to keep the machine going and to beat the algorithm. We don't want to do that. We want creators to create things that they're proud to put out there. So yeah, it's building in those features that allow them to be visible, allow them to be discoverable, regardless of what level they're at. Because there's going to be a lot of amazing creators that are creating in the physical world right now, music, art, writing, whatever it is that they're doing, that are going to enter into the NFT space, and they're going to have to start from scratch again. And we want to give them the opportunity to be able to jump in and, get their work in front of people the same way apes are getting their work in front of people and CryptoPunks are getting their work in front of people. And, some of the amazing creators that are already established in the space. So we want to be a welcoming space for all creators.
I like the I'll just jump in there a second, because I really like that idea, because when I follow people on Instagram, foraging people interested in the environment and climate change and that kind of stuff, and the art world and NFTs, more of those people come up, and that's a good idea, because in OpenSea and the bigger NFT platforms, it's hard to find anyone or anything, so like, unless if you're interested in one category, you can go and find a category. But it's nice that you're thinking of doing it more socially, where you just scroll and you can say, okay, well, I'm interested in NFTs related to the environment, and these NFTs come up naturally for you. So if you have NFTs related to, I don't know, whatever type of art you like, AI art or machine learning art or GAN art, and then if you're liking them, the more you like them, the more the algorithm knows that you want to buy this type of stuff. This is the type of artist that you're interested in seeing more of. So Orderinbox will allow you to see more of that art. That's kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I always loved when I was in the art world, and even today going to museums, is I know what collectors collect, the things that I love. Like Eli Broad was one of my favorite collectors. He's got he's passed now, but he's got a museum in Los Angeles. And, he collected Jeff Koons and Rothko and Basquiat and Keith Haring and all of these artists that are completely aligned with my own taste as like an art lover and now a collector, because I can afford to in the digital space. I definitely can't afford like the Rothkos and Basquiats of the world, but it's really, really cool that you can kind of discover collectors that have your sort of same type taste and sense of style, and you can follow them and any artist that they're picking up that puts those artists on your radar. And
Yes.
And I kind of love that. Yeah. So our platform has your collections feature as well. So you're not buying NFTs and shoving them into your wallet and storing them on Binance or whatever. There's a screen where you can see the user's collections. So there's a gallery feature in there as well.
That's nice.
In the metaverse, I'm sure we'll expand into some cool like actual spaces where you can display your work, but we'll get there.
Gillian has a secret admirer, one that's collected like over 100 of yours now, Jill, hasn't they? And she doesn't know who it is, and we're trying desperately to find out who it is. So maybe if we had them on this platform, we'd know.
We could do something. So actually another notes coming from Joan Mulvihill, and she was saying she's also an artist, an Irish woman and a businesswoman, but she was saying that she loves the idea of NFTs, but where to get started. So could a complete newbie arrive on your site, Orderinbox, and are there like very simple instructions on how to connect your wallet and mint your NFTs?
Yes. So we have an amazing technical writer that's written support articles that have screenshots all the way through to walk you through. I didn't know anything about NFTs when I actually joined the company. I mean, I had like a vague notion of what they were. And I owned a little bit of crypto. So I was 100% a newbie, or I was like 98% a newbie. But it was very easy to sign in and mint my first NFT. It's literally as simple as uploading a post on Instagram. You're minted and it's on there. So, and then once it's on there, the community can start engaging with it.
Well, I tell you, I'm going to do it this weekend. Joan's going to do it. I'm going to message her afterwards, and so is Lisa. You have 3 more hours at least, and maybe Robin's going to come. Robin is Dutch or Danish, sorry. He's probably going to join as well. You'll have 4 new artists coming on site. It's very exciting. I love, I say, because Web3 is so busy, I haven't actually been on your site. I've read around, I haven't got on it, and I knew I was talking to you today, so I didn't actually explore it. But I'm actually very enthused now to go and have a look at it and put up some of my artwork. Wow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have a tight-knit community. Obviously, as we grow, we're going to have to deal with the growing pains. I don't know what any of that's going to look like. But, just being a part, our team is so enthusiastic, and our team it's a team of artists. We're creators. We're all creators creating for creators. So it's not, none of us are like business opportunists. We definitely have future plans to transform it into a DAO, because we want it to be owned by everybody in the community. So if the platform's doing well, we want all of the creators who are sharing their work on it to benefit from it. And so yeah, I mean, it's just this idea of really truly democratizing this world for people who, want to be creative. And it's the creative people that, what would our life be like without artists or creators? I mean,
exactly. Artists navigate the world, explain the world, don't they? They put it in a context and a cultural relevance we might not get from the daily news. I was going to say also, earlier you mentioned your street art, where it was words and art. We also met when we were in Lisbon last month, Verse, which is this amazing project where they combine poetry with audio and visual and create NFTs. And actually one of the main ladies of it, Anna, and I can't remember her surname, she was selected for the upcoming NFT NYC next month to be one of the featured artists to be displayed on Times Square, in billboards and in big huge screens in Times Square. And hers is poetry and graphic artists and music and spoken word, and they're NFTs.
Oh, amazing. Can you send me that information? Because I'll be at NFT NYC, so I would love to keep an eye out for it.
we'll
Listen,
be there too.
you're inspiring Joan. She says, this is my midlife crisis. She says, eat, paint, love summer. Upgrading that to eat, paint, upload summer.
That's a good
That's
idea.
exciting. It is. I mean, because Lisa and I both be artists we dabble, right? But we love doing it. And we actually, we start off by saying we like to do a bit of dabbling. I've just said we're artists. Isn't that mad? To claim that label. Because we do love painting and drawing and sketching and all the things that we're fascinated by. And before you couldn't say that, and now you can. And I say, and somebody has bought 197, I think, of my NFTs and my GAN, my what's it called again? How do you pronounce it? GAN? It's generative adversarial.
Oh, generative, yeah.
Generative adversarial network. AI, but human beings and art together. That's kind of mad, isn't it?
I mean, not really. I can see how it sounds mad for a lot of people, but prior to being in this career, I actually worked in events for about 4 years, and I worked with people like Ray Kurzweil, who's the director of engineering for Google, and Peter Diamandis, who founded the X Prize, which helped launch SpaceX with Elon Musk. So I've been exposed to this crazy conversation about the singularity and humans and computers merging for quite a while. So, 7 or 8 years ago, I was running around talking about how we're all going to have self-driving vehicles and our houses are going to be 3D printed and robots are going to be doing surgery on us. And everybody thought I sounded, like, to be quite honest, just crazy. And we're seeing a lot of it come to fruition. So the merging of humans and robots it's not inherently a bad thing, but I think some of the most valuable people that have input on what's going on right now are going to be the mathematicians are going to be the ones designing it, the mathematicians, engineers, and we're going to need the philosophers. And 10 years ago, what did a philosophy degree do for you? A philosophy degree is going to be an incredibly valuable asset in this economy, because those people are going to be the ones that are helping make the decisions about where we ethically start and stop with these projects. But if it's in the right hands, and obviously it's not going to be 100% foolproof, but if it's in the right hands, it's going to drastically change our lives in ways we can't even imagine. And I think a lot of those are going to be positive. So yeah. And like you're saying, that AI generated art, that's just one thing. Like that's empowering you to be an artist and expressing yourself through the things that you love, even if you technically can't sit there and draw, an incredibly detailed sketch of a human face or something. It's not necessarily about technical talent. It's about ideas and having tools to execute on those ideas.
I love that you said that, because there's one initiative that I have to mention now because you said that, is the Sovereign Nature Initiative. And I think it took place over the weekend, or is it this weekend coming, Jill, I think. And basically what they're doing is they're giving nature a voice by using technology and AI to come up with different ways and different solutions of how to give nature agency. So nature will have some control over how it's treated in the future. And it's so powerful to me. And they're doing amazing stuff. And what they're doing is they're bringing the technology, like you said, and the academia, those two approaches together at the one time. And some of the concepts, I can't even go into them. They're so, it's kind of like utopia. But and there's NFTs involved in that project as well. So it's going to be, the future is interesting and innovative.
It's fascinating. Wow, this hour has just trundled along. I've got to bring it to a close purely because I have another appointment in a minute's time, and this being Web3, I can't be late. But Septima, you are so kind, and I thank all our people listening in, Joan and Anthony and Robin. It's amazing. The reaction you're getting, Septima, is just amazing, and rightly so, because I can't wait till I finish all my calls today, about 9 o'clock tonight, to go on Orderinbox and have a look. And I love your views and your outlooks and all your projects. What an interesting woman. Thank you so much
Thank you, Septima.
Today.
Oh, thank you, ladies. Sorry I couldn't do the camera thing.
Well, we didn't
Bad
have
connection.
the Wi-Fi.
Bad connection.
Bad connection.
Bad connection on other sides of the planet. I hope I make it to your side of the planet one day.
Yeah, bad connection, but good conversation. We didn't need that. So yeah, no, we'll be talking soon again, Septima. We've loved listening to you. Been a fascinating time. It's flown by. And thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. Same. It was so nice meeting you, ladies. I will be in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
everyone.